All right, let's get into a discussion about or what, where uh, God is. I'm going to read some things, could get a little clumsy, but I'll try to make it as fun as it can possibly be. Take a little adventure. Read some things out of one of the books I've read, written. I was a little, wasn't certain whether I should say that one of the books that I've been a vehicle for writing for our Creator, God, the Omniverse. Um, anyway, either way, it's a book out there titled "Will to Flower." Um, so I'm gonna start reading, and hopefully won't be as clumsy as I think it could be. Um, but here we go. While examining, theorizing, and or suggesting resolutions to unresolved problems in our world, we will start with the subject of God as one of, if not the most divisive subjects in human affairs. It can be the most cohesive if we find common ground among most or all humanity. This writing thinks that it is possible for this union. Knowing God is crucial to being able to love God with all our faculties, as Jesus has urged us to, and Deuteronomy 6:5 in the Old Testament has urged us to. Um, You cannot love a transcendent God. You can only delusionally imagine that you are. If your God is transcendent, you are lost and need to be found. So pay attention. Yes, that means you too. Uh, Also, if you don't know how to love, then you're also lost. But that's going to be a separate. We may touch on that subject here, but I'm going to have a separate video on what love is and how to apply it, how important it is for individual sanity and spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, physical well-being. Um, but that's again, that's another subject. Um, there are four uh, critical unifying understandings that are needed and mostly overlooked by almost all the monotheistic triad: Judaism, Christianity, and Mohammedanism, uh, or Islam, and humanity. When it comes to Jesus' primary emphasis on God's original Deuteronomy 6:5, chapter 6, verse 5, message of loving God with all our faculties and being. These are: number one, who or what is God? Number two, what is love? Number three, how do we love God every moment of our lives? Uh, and four, are we ready, willing, and able to devote our entire lives to loving God with all our faculties and being? We do not understand or live any one of these principles and actions, we will not experience, comprehend, or appreciate the life-affirming value in the euphoria of unconditional omniversal love, and we will not fulfill Jesus' reminder message from God to completely return to harmonious love with God. And we cannot call ourselves Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, etc. All right, are you ready to join the 21st century and meet the God of not only religion but of science? Are you ready to know who we are to love with all our faculties and being as the first of the four conditions? If so, then let's proceed with the expansion of our awareness and or consciousness in preparation for this meeting. This is a chapter on God. Some of the God concepts held by major religions of the world and many of the minor religions and belief systems are that God is, and by the way, I've studied most all the major religions and many or most of the minor religions um, to glean out some of this information, along with using my own and others' reasoning abilities. Anyway, some of the God concepts held by major religions of the world and many of the minor religions and belief systems are that God is colon light, comma, spirit, comma, the word, comma, love, comma, uh, a consuming fire, sees all, controls all, omniscient, all-knowing, omnipresent, everywhere, omnipotent, almighty or all-powerful, and the creator of all things, among many other concepts or beliefs. The limits of human intelligence, we've got to put some little side notes in here. The limits of human intelligence and its capacity to understand the vastness and intimacy of an infinite omniverse or God may be and has been compared to a snail or germ understanding physics, biology, languages, etc., and communicating with uh, humans about their understanding. There may be dimensions and understandings that our brains are incapable of knowing because we cannot think or perceive beyond who we are at this place in evolution. Because of this snail brain concept, all our current commonly accepted facts may be complete errors. We may never know those truths, or we will be out, or we'll find out sometime in the future that our all current scientific findings have been the discoveries and insights of human snails, like some ancient archaic religious beliefs and curiosities in, into nature are relative to today's understandings. Okay, a miracle just happened. I was able to pause, go take care of some laundry and get something to eat, and take care of some other things. Anyway, let's get back into it. Science is directly or indirectly seeking a creator, source, and or sustainer of the omniverse. Science is its own religion with prophets, messengers, and sages telling wonderful stories of their adventures, predictions, uh, and theories filled with power, mystery, and awe about their continuous journey into the unknown of practically infinitesimally small particles, infinitely large omniversal space, actual and potential dimensions, and the past, present, and potential future of the world we live in. Technological advances contribute awe to consumers throughout the earth, particularly what we're using right here. We're using the internet or a phone. It's kind of awesome things that science has discovered and uh, developed. Let's go. Science and scientific exploration is learning about the omniverse in ways that all or many may comprehend, instead of relying upon people, potentially errant few with inside information spoken only to them by or through an unknown God or source, documented in unverifiable ancient archaic writings. Then I have a little disclaimer here. Um, uh, it's easily debatable uh, whether science destroys, retards, or harms more life on Earth than it saves through technologically advanced weaponry and modern warfare, vast monocroppings of wheat and corn and different crops, honeybee genetic devolution through inbreeding and industrial scale overharvesting or theft of the bees' hard-earned money for winter storage, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, multicides, junk food and additives, pharmaceutical misuse, addictions and deaths, media agitations, propaganda and social engineering, deforestations, environmental degradation, air, water, and land pollution, frontal lobotomies. It's kind of a joke about, or some kind of something about what took place a while back. Poisoning, human-made disasters, heavy equipment excavations, logging, roads, parking lots, buildings, human overpopulations, and life expectancy extensions. Although we think those are good things, you could throw this into that case about science harming more life on Earth than it saves. Large commercial high-tech fishing, fish finding, and over-harvesting, human-induced species depletions and extinctions, etc. Um, anyway, that's just a little. I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna chime in um, on whether or not science is a good, right, or wrong. I'm enjoying the benefits of science at the moment. So again, it's just a little disclaimer because I'm sure there are people who believe scientific developments have been more harmful than beneficial. Of course, the flip side is true because there are people who are advocates of science and all the modern developments. I remember getting yelled at by somebody who claimed that science um, stopped people were dying of just having diarrhea. Uh, uh, anyway, I don't get that's. I just realized I tapped into a little disturbing subject. Anyway, let's scroll down here. Bypass that little comment. Even the so-called golden rule, uh, Matthew 7:12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. Even that gets corrupted by humans through sadomasochistic tendencies, uh, whereas some people like to get beaten and might think that you like to get beaten or abused. Or um, then there's sterile junk food, drug, and alcohol addictions. People addicted to things that are killing them. A drug addict or alcoholic would think that the answer to your problem is some junk food or some drug, some heroin or alcohol, a shot of whiskey. Then there's greed, sexual degeneracies, and perversities. So anyway, the golden rule, what people like and what they think is good for them, and they might think it's good for you, but I suppose there's a lot of that goes on in the world. The governments think they know what's right for you, but again, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's get back to the subject. I think I'm going to pause until I find. Okay, many of the scientific discoveries of today that are now considered established facts have their foundations in mystery, curiosity, and creative imaginings or visions that have led us into the unknown to make it as known as we can know at this time. Religion, spirituality, or mystery may have been the beginnings or foundations of scientific inquiry. It may be that all or much of future scientific research includes the possibility of finding a creator, the creator, or God as part of its awareness before, during, and after each experience. It is written in religious literature that we cannot see God's entirety, nor can we ever know God completely. Given the immensity of the infinite omniverse combined with our finite senses, limited imaginations, and relatively finite exploratory tools available to explore apparently infinite stars, planets, and other material or matter, infinite light years away in infinite space with apparently infinite length and breadth in all directions, along with the practically infinitesimally small minutiae encountered in particle physics, then this appears to be true. We cannot count to infinity, so it's highly unlikely that we're going to know or explore the infinite completely anytime soon. Our relatively limited human intellect, I mean, and a relatively, because I don't care what kind of a genius you are, relative to the omniverse, you're you have snail brains. Um, Again, relatively. Our relatively limited human intellect may not be able to comprehend or even imagine some, many, or most omniversal questions and their answers, as we can imagine the earlier referenced snail not comprehending physics, psychology, and medicine without miracles or fairy tale support. Let's look at what is commonly called the known world we live in. The Earth is said to rotate around its axis at approximately 1,000 miles per hour at the equator and revolves around the Sun with about a 93 million mile orbital radius at approximately 67,000 miles per hour. Our solar system, including the Sun and the planets that revolve around it, is said to rotate around the galactic poles of the Milky Way, which the Earth is part of, at approximately 600,000 miles per hour, while the Earth is relatively unfazed except for a few light breezes, hurricanes, and tornadoes, up to the fastest recorded wind speed, 253 miles an hour, or 408 kilometers per hour. Now, that kind of speed, 253 miles per hour, uh, is is amazingly uh, lowered relative to the 67,000 miles an hour uh, and 600,000 miles per hour. Anyway, let's go. Light travels at a speed of 299,792,458 meters, or 186,282-ish miles per second. A light year is the distance light travels in 1 year, or 5,874,500,000,000, billion, 800, 5,874 billion, 589,152,000 miles. A light year is a very long distance, to say the least. If a child is born counting and continues to count 24 hours a day without sleep for 70 years at one number per second, they would only reach 2,207,520,000. It would take 2,661 of these hypothetical people to count the miles light travels in 1 year, and approximately 16,730 to count the March 2025 U.S. federal debt. Uh, the nearest star beyond our sun is said to be 4.3 light years away, which means that the light that we see from this star was emitted 4.3 years ago. This star and all the others in visible space are no longer where they appear to be. The star may not exist today, even though the visible light emitted in the past that is reaching us today still shines in that location, or I can't even say in that location. Our Milky Way galaxy is has been estimated to be approximately 100,000 light years across. Uh, and that number, let's see, thousands, uh, millions, billions, trillions, quadrillions, 587 quadrillion, 458 trillion, 915 million. No, I missed one. Uh, let's just say it's 587 quadrillion miles. Visible light from stars at this range was emitted in prehistoric times and is finally arriving for us to see. All the stars in the sky are showing images of how our galaxy and beyond appeared in varying past times in a historical light show. When the Earth and a star are moving away from each other, the time between the two will be increased. All the apparent stars of the entire night sky are an optical illusion, or like a mirage. We're only seeing light, not the actual stars. It has been estimated that there are between 100 and 200 billion galaxies within our observable universe, or the viewing range of larger modern telescopes as of 2024 AD. That may also be 100,000 light years across. These may be phantom lights of prehistoric galaxies that no longer exist. The trace lights from these galaxies can be billions of light years away, 5.9-ish septillion miles or per billion light years. Although we have been told our universe is expanding, um, it may be shrinking, and we will not be able to confirm or deny this because the time lapse between the ancient light we see through our eyes and relatively limited, and again, relatively limited, relative to infinity, relatively limited exploratory tools in what may be empty space. What is ROR beyond our current viewing range, we might say only God knows for now, because we are merely penetrating minutely into infinity, snail brains looking into the apparent infinite. Almost, if not all, lights in the sky, including the sun's 8-minute lapse and its 1.3-second light lapse reflected by the surface of the moon, are traces of past events in relatively near or distant places that will be seen in the future in places beyond the Earth in the opposite direction from the light source. We witness the omniversal light images of the past in our present, and a different version of our present view will be visible in a more distant part of the omniverse in the future. We are witnessing somewhere, someone, something else's future or past light, activity, or location. If a person could travel faster than the speed of light, they could visit a distant event, return to us, describe what they saw, and appear to predict future events. The omniverse may have this ability due to omnipresence, or being everywhere at the same time. The omniverse is our past, present, and future visible light at the same time, while all phases of this light, from source to observer, are happening in the present. It appears we are witnessing the past or present. We are observing present light sent from a distant source in the past, like a ball that is now in the hands of the catcher and no longer in the hands of the pitcher. The light we see is present light that is not the source or at the source. Everything we see is either a representation of something with an indiscernible time lapse due to the nearness of our local environment. Like looking at this video, there's actually a very minute lapse in time between what you see uh, and register with your brain and what's going on. Um, Again, you may not even notice the distance, the lapse in time because it's so fractionally small, or a lapse of time that's so vast that no human was, is, or maybe even will be around when the image was or is emitted or viewable. Apparently, light from each individual star travels outwardly in all directions away from that star as its source. There are many intersections of light paths crossing each other everywhere in the omniverse that light can travel freely. Let's add to this the limitations of visible light. It is said that humans can only see 0.0035% of the electromagnetic radiation spectrum. The other 99.9965% of non-visible radiation detectable by humans at this early stage of the 21st century ranges from long-wave, low-frequency radio waves through on through microwaves, infrared, visible, or we're passing through invisible, ultraviolet, X-ray, to the shortest light waves with the highest frequency in gamma rays. There is a lot going on around us, locally and universally, and much that we cannot see, yet it is there. Some can be perceived through some modern instrumentation, as in cellular telephones, GPS, radio, and satellite receivers, radio, X-ray, and gamma-ray telescopes. Some of the more dangerous electromagnetic radiations could be emitted by catastrophic events in space heading our way that may not be observed until it's too late. If you have not already done so, take a moment to see how far your mind can travel an infinite distance in any direction. You will get another idea how limited our relative snail brains and perceptions can be and how large infinite space is. You might imagine beyond the so-called parts of the omniverse and into theoretical parts of or dimensions of the omniverse, making things up as you go. Beyond that, you are on your own, theorizing without proofs or evidence, creating a fantasy universe. Although it may be amusing to try, and some do, we have not been able to grasp or confine infinity in time, space, numbers, or even the divisions between two numbers, other than using names or labels. It may be harder to imagine space being finite than infinite. If we can think, if we think we can describe, imagine, or know infinity, then it is not, then it is finite, not infinite. Our solar system could be a universal atom that the planets moving around the sun as protons, neutrons, and electrons are said to move around nuclei in atoms. This solar atom may be part of a toy being played by universal giants or gods that are either conscious or unconscious of our presence in the particle structure of this toy, like some of the creatures that inhabit our skin and intestines. These theoretical universal giants or gods may be orchestrating all life on Earth as we orchestrate the movements of the Mars rovers and other spacecraft. If there were living beings in space observing the Mars rovers and spacecraft, they may not know who made them or who was directing their movements. Does this sound familiar? Every galaxy that we can observe with modern telescopes may also be theoretically viewed as this particle model in relation to the vastness of infinite space. As absurd or impossible as these impossibilities may sound, they are possible. Infinite space is that big and that far beyond our comprehension. We may be viewing things in space that are relatively large in relation to ourselves and our Earth, but we are merely glimpsing past images of tiny pieces of infinite space. If we go into the dimension of fundamental particles, into the small, go down into looking at the little things you can barely see, um, we find that a drop of water is said to have over 5 sextillion atoms of oxygen and hydrogen doing their little dance together, while their electrons are said to orbit the nuclei of each of these partners many billions of times per second, and hyperons, mesons, tau, muons, neutrons, gravitons, maybe even bosons, God particles, neutrinos, protons, photons, quarks, gluons, and other particles, known and unknown, do what they do best to maintain water as water, according to theoretical nuclear physics. The few times that we have witnessed or filmed or witnessed the actions and features of these small particles in specific laboratory settings, even repeatedly, has left us assuming the rest of the particles in this drop of water and in the omniverse are the same or act the same under many different sets of circumstances. And some people have questioned that, and I think they've actually done some tests of people getting angry. They're watching a little video, I forget the name of it. They're talking about showing the images of water when somebody's angry around it, or when somebody's loving around it, or when somebody's happy around it, and the different reactions that water has to different emotions. We're not going to get sidetracked with that, but that's possible. But they don't act the same, depending on who's observing them. Some scientists are aware that there is more space between particle parts than known substance in even the densest matter. This majority of space um, in matter is as unknown as current knowledge of particle physics was many years ago. All this space within the smallest particles is like the space between planets and stars in our known universe, such as dark matter and dark energy. We may live and perceive in one dimension among uncountable dimensions of space, time, and being. Uh, I'm going to pause this for a second here until. Oh, all right. We can emphasize the word theoretical as meaning much of this dimension is not really known, but theorized about through human brain observations, snail brain, educated guesses, and mechanical reasoning in a similar way that many religious beliefs are held by believers through personal experience and intuitive reason, the only support coming through similar shared experiences by others. Infinite space and the smallest particles are not completely known by humans. We have no scientific certainty as to where our consciousness came from, why it exists, or what happens to it after death. We can explain much of the chemical composition of our bodies, but we cannot explain our will to survive or what is within us that is willing us to survive, or our consciousness, life force, spirit, or that which differentiates what is commonly known as a living body from what is commonly known as a dead body without its life force, conscious awareness, or soul. There are uncountable creatures on earth that all have an intimate will to survive, adapt, propagate, but no known reason or sources for these drives, and who knows what other species may live in the beyond. Uh, there is something within or beyond the organism itself that wants to take so-called ordinary matter and keep it composed as a so-called living thing through consumption, mutation, adaptation, survival, procreation for the lifetime of that living thing and the perpetuation of its kind. Why would so-called lifeless matter spring to life in a form and then persist in defending and replicating its form until going back to formlessness or changing form? There must be something producing and sustaining this will to live and defend and procreate similar forms. Since we do not know, we cannot rule out a creator and or designer or God, as much as it offends those rigid rationalists seeking to eliminate these ideas with their relative snail brains. There are memories and personal experience that most of us are certain that we have had that cannot be proven or supported. Many of our personal experiences can only be spoken about and either believed or not believed by those we describe them to. Does this make an unprovable personal memory or experience not true? There are falsely accused and sentenced humans in prisons with clear memories of events that they could not reveal to prove their innocence. There are actual criminals that have committed crimes all over the place, in politics and on the streets and in the jungles and all kinds of places, uh, that have committed crimes and no one has yet been able to access their memories to convict. Does this mean our memories and unsupported experiences have not happened? Experience comes during life. Experience is personal. A version of personal experience can be passed on in the form of knowledge. Knowledge is not experienced until it is lived, and then a similar, although not the same experience may be passed on. One person's one person's experience of cold may be like another's, but it is not the same. An individual's experience cannot be proven, but can be supported through the similar experiences of others if there are others. Unique personal experiences may never be proven, replicated, understood, or shared with others, because you may have some experience, like you saw a Bigfoot, or you saw an alien invasion, or you saw some odd. Those are common little uh, things, but there's a bunch of different things you may experience, and you'll never be able to convey it to somebody because they don't have a similar experience. A time may come when definitions of life that are now commonly held or believed will be seen differently, much differently, or completely opposed. We may think of wisdom as a relatively thorough combination of experience and knowledge around a subject. Apparently, animals can have experience without knowledge, and reading or listening to this conversation can give you knowledge without experience. Individuals that have a belief or an opinion for or against God will have their own understanding of God or know God, even among others who claim to have the same religion, belief, or lack of belief, because of the limits, colon, the limits of individual comprehension, semicolon, the knowable vastness of infinite space, semicolon, differing interpretations, translations, and sources of belief, semicolon, and the wide variety of differing experiences each individual has within their human lifetime. Uh, Again, to use a little example here. If 1,000 people from 1,000 different locations on Earth drew pictures of the Earth and sky that was visible to them at any given time on the same type of paper, the same drawing instruments, even with the same skill level, but that that's often very different. Very few people can draw real well, and even those who can, even if they were and they were in a different location, you would have 1,000 different drawings of the earth and sky. Atheists and others can say that many of the gods and proposed ideas and stories of God are doubtful or not true, but to say with absolute assurance there is no God is narrow-minded or ignorant, to say the least, or arrogantly, I am the center of the universe, childish, narcissistic, snail-brained delusion. One may suspend judgment to show some depth of thought. To say that there are no intelligent life forms within the infinite possibilities of infinite space sounds overly skeptical even to the simplest human. The definitive statement, there is no God, is of similar limited thinking as there are no intelligent life forms in infinite space. Because something is not provable or completely understood through modern technology and human sensory observations does not mean that it does not exist as in human will, consciousness, past events, memories, and personal experience. Humans like to know or think that they know what is going on around us, but we are not conscious of much in relation to infinite knowledge and space. If the world around you is not mysterious, it is because of limited imagination or closed-mindedness or delusional narcissistic know-it-allness that limits you to not knowing enough about your world rather than because you know too much. The more we discover, the more mysterious life becomes. With so much mystery, it is only a lack of knowledge that claims God does not exist. Of course, the declaration that God does exist, that has its basis in being told that it is, through unverifiable ancient archaic texts or so-called infallible humans without knowledge or experience, is similar narrow-minded awareness. The God does not exist statement is like flat earth claims that rely on limited snail-brained human observations and may appear edgy and clever amongst other snail brains that can't think their way out of their comfortable little echo chambers. This, this writing will not be claiming the certainty of the existence of God, of a religious God. It will be claiming who or what fulfills the closest description of the monotheistic claims of omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, and the source and sustenance of all things in the omniverse. The first statement that monotheism and science are speaking about the same creator or source is that the omnipresent, atomically charged, omniversal energy or spirit of God, whichever term you prefer, is the source, sustainer, power, and creative force within all energy, knowledge, creativity, memory, consciousness, and matter that was, is, and will be through whatever religious, scientific, chemical, and or evolutionary means that it came to be. Um, the omniverse, which is, I think I gave it a little description, the omniverse that uh, is all things, uh, is the creator and sustainer of all things, including us. We are being, we were created and we're being sustained by this omniversal, atomically charged energy. Now we can call it the omniverse. We can do the scientific, re- rational version, or we're going to call it God. And so that's the omniverse. The omniverse is God, regardless. There's no there's no getting around it. I mean, there may be gods or spirits or angels. There may be demons. There may be a variety of different beings that we can't see or don't know that go beyond our visibility. I'm gonna bring up. I got other chapters that I'm gonna write some of this stuff down. I'm gonna want to. I do want to draw in some of the ideas from those chapters that I'll be making videos about. Um, the right now, all around us, there are images and conversations going on. The sound transmissions from radio and telephone calls. They're going on all around us. We can't see them, we can't hear them, we can't feel them. We have no idea that we don't have. There's no clue other than having a radio that you can tune into the proper channel, or a television with a satellite dish, or some version of receiving your phone, a cell phone that can watch this YouTube video on it through the air. I'm I am floating through the air. I'm a ghost. I came to you in a vision here, a vision on your screen. So I'm with the possibility humans have manufactured technology that we can send images all over our planet and even out into space, out to Mars. We can communicate with the Mars rovers. Uh, it's I forget whether it was 200,000 miles away or it's a long ways away. It might even be millions of miles away. Um, but we can communicate with those things. We can send them there, and we can communicate with them. We can direct their activities long ways off. we can't see the directions. The directions are invisible to our invisible. You shouldn't say visible. You can't hear it. You can't see it. You can't sense it. Our senses, they're undetectable by our senses, or relatively, primarily indetectable by our senses. So we exist in a world that humans have manufactured technology where um, so-called the ghost of Patrick can appear on your screen uh, from out of nowhere. So because humans can create and manufacture technology that can send images and conversations and directions and you know move and manipulate, then the creator of humans could certainly have angels, demons, ghosts, Jesus, Moses, afterlife. There could be other dimensions. The, the probability is gets higher and higher. And science hasn't disproved angels and demons. It actually has generated, as I'm just talking about, generated reasons for the possibility of spirits or ghosts or uh, angels and demons and other characters, jinn, um, and an afterlife. That we came here, we're in this body, we're in this being, and we're some kind of apparition, um, and we're going to disappear, but our spirit won't disappear. It'll go back out into another dimension, possible. I'm not saying it is. I'm just pointing out the possibilities. Um, I try not to say with certainty anything I can't prove, but certainly have some insinuations or some possibilities. Now, this idea that the omniverse is God um, uh, certainly fits all the creator. It's the creator or manufacturer or sustainer through evolutionary processes. Whatever took place during when the evolutionary version of the spark of life back in the pre, pre, uh, prehistoric or beyond times, uh, somehow or another, the orchestration of whatever it took to generate life through evolutionary processes was the creator of life and the creator of new life and new life forms and multiple life forms. And here we are, here we sit today. Or well, the omniverse is God, whether you like it or not. I mean, it's just God is omnipotent and omnipresent and omniscient. God knows all, uh, is is present in all, and is all the power. Is all powerful, and the creator of all things. Then God must be this omniverse. Um, so whether it's scientific, omniverse is God, the God of science is the omniverse, or the omniverse is the God of monotheism. Um, Anyway, this may disrupt some settled ideas of who or what God is or is not, but this does nothing to change current understanding. Science and monotheism are talking about the same source of all in all. Call it what you will by scientific, religious, or spiritual terminology. And then I've got a cluster of little God, Allah, creation, cosmos, the Father, Mother Nature, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, all that is, everything, the Great Spirit, energy, etc. But the omniverse is the producer, source, and sustainer of all it contains. Anything that exists is a product or creation of the omniverse. The omniverse is everything known and yet to be known. Therefore, anything that exists must have come from or be part of everything that is, was, or will be. If you discover something that you think came from somewhere else, it did not. That somewhere else is also part of the infinite omniverse. The atomically charged energy or spirit of the omniverse exists in or is all things visibly animate and inanimate to our senses and technology. You do not have to call the omniverse God to know that everything that exists within the omniverse is from the omniverse, including black holes, antimatter, dark energy, and any other mysterious phenomenon from our parent dimension and any other dimension that was, is, or will be. It can be proven scientifically that we are products or creations of this omniverse. The same source that produced life and consciousness in all this so-called living is continuously maintaining life and consciousness in the present. Uh, Evolutionary theory says that life, or what we commonly call life, has been produced from so-called non-living matter found in nature or the omniverse. So-called non-living matter and the cumulative processes of so-called non-living matter that generate life in this manner would be the scientific creator, source, parents of all commonly known living things. Since all so-called living and non-living matter and antimatter are part of the infinite omniverse, this makes the omniverse the creator, producer, source, and sustainer of all living things, or the God of evolution. The elemental composition of every so-called living thing can be broken down into its so-called non-living material uh, from the time when no commonly known living thing existed on Earth. Every sperm, egg, embryo, or seed is composed of the same technically non-living matter that existed here before life on Earth. What we commonly call non-living matter can and has become living. Living things are another form of particle motion, or another way in which particle motion expresses itself. As there are sounds outside of our hearing range and light outside of our vision spectrum, and different matter energy vibrational frequencies are said to represent different materials, it appears the life force, spirit, soul, or consciousness of living things has its own vibrational energy frequencies like satellite and radio transmissions of images, music, and voices. By redefining all matter, energy, spirit in the omniverse as living energy or spirit existing within varying vibrational frequencies, we can generate more reverence for all things in our world and more physiological, psychological, emotional, and/or spiritual integrity in and around humanity. This is a kind of one of my fun little things here. The atheist is a product of or from random mutations, chemical reactions, natural selection, elements from the omniverse or nature, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, etc., or air, water, sunshine, minerals, proteins, etc., survival of the fittest, environmental conditions, genetics, and any evolutionary process that exists. The atheist is a child, product, or creation of the omniverse. The omniverse, with all its processes, is the creator, source, and sustainer of all the atheists' past, present, and future bodily functions, thoughts, movements, and creativity, along with every other living and so-called non-living thing. The omniverse is the atheist and the believer's source, sustainer, and producer, or God. The omniverse as God absorbs the Big Bang theory, creationism, religion, evolution, and any other theory proposed by religion, science, or skepticism, and will absorb and welcome any new discoveries of this creator, energy, or spirit as further confirmation. The omniverse as God shows that suffering is a human preservation signal and that it does not exist on spiritual energy levels. It eliminates anthropomorphic descriptions of God's insensitivity and terribleness towards humans and all of nature. It contributes to an answer for the proverbial question, if there is a God, then why is there so much suffering in the world? And another question, and other questions like it. And this is a cute little quote I have from Henry Louis Mencken. He was born in 1880 and died in 1956. He says, in quotes, the anthropomorphic theory of the world is made absurd by modern biology. All the errors and incompetency of the Creator reach their climax in man. As a piece of mechanism, he is the worst of them all. If we assume, and I don't assume, just stepping out of the quotations, I don't assume, and I take that to be an error, a biblical error, a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation, a mistranslation. But here, let me go back into this quote here. If we assume that man actually resembles God, then we are forced into the impossible theory that God is a coward, an idiot, and a blunderer. Um, and it's a kind of Henry Louis Mencken. Um, the omniverse as God encompasses and absorbs the terms good and evil, hot and cold, pleasure and pain, life and death, and any other extremes and in-betweens. The energy of science or the spirit of God in monotheistic religion are, or is, said to not be destroyed by extremes. Beings that are commonly called living, on the other hand, need to find a balance within the extremes of their environments to remain living in the bodies that they are in or are, preferably in the all-encompassing and naturally satisfying euphoria of harmonious loving union with the omniverse or God as the ultimate balance. The omniverse as God explains omniscience, or at least knowing or having known everything that has been, is, or will be known by anyone or anything that knows, will know, or knew something. Omnipotence, or all the power that has been, is, or will be in all the infinite dimensions and space and time, among infinite atomic energy and or power. And omnipresence, which gives a direction for the love of one who is asked to love God with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength. Without omnipresence, we do not know where to love. Our love will be a groping in the dark or a confusing, fearful, delusional, uh, idolatrous, imaginary, neurotic, and or unsatisfying attempt at love, leading to unfulfilling substitutes or authentic, harmonious, loving union with all. With omnipresence, we are always surrounded by the one we are to love, as in a return to the womb of energy, life, or spirit, with our atomically charged omniversal energy, or God-connected love, being our spiritual umbilical cord. The omniversal God is the most inclusive for most religions and non-religious, or a more unifying understanding. A transcendent God is a fragment or a total or a part of the totality and oneness of the omniversal God, and therefore not omni anything. The omniversal God is all present, all power, knows all, sustains all, and produces all, which is obviously more than any version of a transcendent God. The omniversal God is greater than and engulfs a transcendent God and all other gods. Transcendency supports occult practices, deceivers, deception, and fosters delusions and other mental and spiritual illnesses. When we perceive all things everywhere as being atomically charged, energy, spirit, with dramatic power, you can see energy equals mass times speed of light squared, nuclear power and nuclear explosions for drama. If you want to understand why there's a lot of drama in this atomic energy and potential, we can no longer think or feel that we are living in a boring, lifeless world. Harmonious loving union with all of this atomically charged energy spirit begins to shine through the fog of errant beliefs as a path to world peace. Uh, This omniversal producer, source, and sustainer, or God, is the largest and greatest God possible. Our awareness of the omniversal God will continue to expand with every new discovery we make. It is everything known yet to be known and all that may remain unknown in the infinity of all things, including all human concepts of God and science that have been proposed and will be proposed. Your God can be smaller, transcendent, or limited, but you cannot have a larger God than the omniverse. If you think you do, then you have not been paying attention. Your disbelieving or understanding of God is a part of the whole omniversal God. The omniversal God is one, and we are one with God or the omniverse. Any new discoveries will become part of the complete and unifying term omniverse or God. There is much more to learn about the omniversal God. We will be merely glimpsing further understandings within this uh, little video. Future knowledge of the omniversal source may be potentially mind-boggling in relation to today's understanding. A biblical term associated with God is I am. This I am can be viewed as a statement referring to the omniversal atomically charged energy or spirit that we are and are part of in the present or the now, where life reaches its peak. God as I am is everything that is, the Alpha and the Omega, and all in between. All the dynamic, atomically charged energy or spirit that is present around you right now is the present tense presence of an omnipresent, atomically charged living God. Harmonious, loving union with the omniversal God is the direct or indirect goal of most, if not all, human activities, including but not limited to psychiatry, psychology, pharmacology, surgery, science, natural selection, survival of the fittest, or most harmonious, freedom, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, religion, nationalism, meditation, purpose, social acceptance, fads, fame, fortune, or pursuit of fortune, materialism, eating, breathing, sleeping, machines, computers and phones, road, bridge and dwelling constructions, pain avoidance, procreative and pleasure seeking, sex, heating and air conditioning systems, cooling shade and warming sun, and farming and hunting and gathering, gangs, unions, attendance at stadiums, even crimes, sins, and violations such as murder, hatred, lying, cheating, stealing, adultery, racism, alcoholism, addictions, torture, laziness, gluttony, etc., can be shown to be perversions, extremes, frustrations, or simplistic solutions for our instinct for harmonious, loving union with the omniversal God. Um, so, all right, I guess the pause button is a little miracle. Uh, a similar structure of reward and punishment exists in both nature and religion. In religion, we are told that alignment, submission, or harmony with God's laws will bring harmony to the individual in the here and the hereafter, while violations bring torment. In nature, as most of us are aware, if we find the right temperature, the right food, shelter, clothing, behavior, we will be in harmony with our environment, while if we don't eat right, sleep right, think right, live right, move right, act right, etc., we will pay some penalty, usually immediately, yet often over time, as in bad habits, to catch up to us eventually. It can be shown that the yearning for or towards harmonious loving union with the omniversal God drives all human pursuits, whether you are an atheist, agnostic, believer, or you do not have or are incapable of having an opinion. We are all consciously or unconsciously seeking the same loving union or reunion. We are using different words, ideas, practices, and paths to achieve or distort this common goal. Many humans already are or live like gods, children of God or parts of God's creativity, and most have the capacity. We already exhibit much of the characteristics that historically have been given to God in agriculture, animal breeding, science, philosophy, morality, engineering, architecture, art, music, etc. Everything we do is an act of the omniverse because everything we are is living and integrated with this source and sustenance. We are one with all, whether we believe it or comprehend it or not. If humans can selectively breed or genetically engineer numerous varieties of dogs, cherries, wheat, corn, etc., with our conscious efforts, then why would we put limits on the omniverse of God as the source of human consciousness and our ability to selectively breed or genetically engineer by assuming that all variations of plants and animals have come from random selection without the omniverse God making similar selective and guiding decisions? We represent or are representatives of the omniverse of God. Everything we do is the omniverse or God living through us. Remember that being that's running 99% of your being? Um, uh, Everything we do uh, uh, is the omniverse or God living through us, because whatever's running us is from the omniverse. It's part of the omniverse. So the omniverse is living through us. Um, if humans can intercept or manipulate the apparent random selection in nature through conscious selection by choosing which offspring from the descendants of the wolf would be better suited for herding livestock and defending against the wolf, hunting, police and guard duty, guiding the blind, rescuing people in the snow, following scents, pulling sleds, catching rats, learning tricks, living with small children, companionship, sitting on a lap, etc. Yet it can also be said that the omniverse of God is selectively breeding and choosing traits through us as extensions of omniversal reach. Anything we select is the omniverse selecting. We are agents of omniversal intelligent design. We are in God and God is in us. We are in the omniverse and the omniverse is in us. We are part of God and God is all of us. Anything we design with our intellect is omniversal intelligent design. Humans have aligned themselves consciously or unconsciously with the omniverse or God in conscious selections instead of the apparent random selections theorized by evolutionists. If humans can have compassion for animals, the environment, and each other, while being products of the omniverse or God, then there is compassion in the omniverse or God. If humans have creative intelligence, then there is creative intelligence in the omniverse or God. If humans can communicate with each other face to face or over great distances, then it can be said that the omniverse or God can communicate with the omniverse or God as humans or through humans over great distances. Which kind of sounds like God communicating to prophets from a distance or unknown places. We can communicate. We're doing it right now, communicating here through this medium over distances. Um, so this is one part of God communicating to another part of God, a fragment child of God communicating to another child of God or part of God. If humans can control the movements of animals and other humans through conditioning, propaganda, belief systems, laws, suggestions, marketing, and public opinion, or communicate with local machinery and distant spacecraft through electronics and engineering, then we are evidence that one part of the omniversal God can exhibit conscious control over another part of the omniversal God. If somebody can come, never mind. If we can remember things from our memories and are part of the omniversal God, then the omniversal God is remembering things and creating historical records through us on a small scale, which opens the possibility that it can be done on an omniversal scale, as in the Internet's accumulation of memories, experiences, and information on a global scale. Like we now have watching YouTube videos, this is gathering up and storing uh, memory and experience and knowledge and humor and all sorts of things, images um, that are being stored. Uh, and if the internet is part of the omniverse, then the omniverse is storing information, knowledge, it's gathering information. Um, Human consciousness, compassion, creativity, communication capabilities, athletics, selective breeding, the ability to educate each other, memory, engineering, mathematics, physics, music, art, technology, and love are all products of the omniverse of God. Therefore, we can say that the omniverse or God has compassion, consciousness, creativity, love, communication capabilities, education, selective breeding, engineering, knowledge, memory, mathematics, physics, musical talent, artistic ability, technological creativity, along with all the other processes that we have discovered, will discover, and practice. We look out into the omniverse for evidence of God when it is right here all around us in the omniverse. The omniverse, as or God, produces, wills. Everything you're doing is being willed by the omniverse or God, and sustains all humans and their abilities. Therefore, we are exhibiting evidence of the omniverse's God's abilities. Practically all bodily processes, from our toenails to our fingernails to our brain functions and the hair on our heads, are being maintained by the omniverse of God without our needing to control. They're just happening with or without our knowledge or uh, consent. All our instincts, bodily parts, and bodily functions, consciousness, and neurologically circuitry have been and are created, given, maintained, driven, willed, and activated by the omniversal God. Therefore, the omniverse actively and intimately cares about our living and staying alive. Um, the being within us wants us to breathe, wants us to breathe love. Uh, therefore, uh, the the being within us, or the omniverse, or God, wants us to be in love. This is what the being within us is guiding us to, driving us to. This is what the omniverse, or the atheist, or God is driving us to do, to be, to become, to flower, to mature, to achieve, to get her to rise above the water, rise out of the dirt and flower as a loving being, or a child of God. The omniversal God has, throughout our lives into the present, willed us to survive, create, live, thrive, and procreate. All these actions, functions, and drives can remind us that the omniversal God is intimately connected to us and ultimately in charge of our lives and cares about our well-being. The omniverse, or the Spirit of God within us and as us, lets us know, if we are paying attention, when we need to avoid danger, seek peace, eat, sleep, drink, warm or cool ourselves, etc. We're being guided to from within to meet those requirements. We are basically not in charge of the drives or instincts that drive us. We can agree to find harmony with these innate drives by fulfilling their requests or demands, hopefully in a healthy manner. Healthy agreement finds harmony, while unhealthy agreement or disagreement finds hell on earth. It is interesting that a relatively snail-brained human can assert that there is no God, while 99% or more of their lives is being controlled, driven, created, produced by the Omniverse or God, like a hand puppet claiming there is no God. We could end this discussion here because this is all the evidence that is needed to know that science and monotheism are speaking about the same source and sustainer. Uh, but we're going to have some other chapters. We've got some more, going to break down, take some biblical quotes about God is love, God is light, God was the Word, God is all-knowing, omniscient, God is fire. Um, a bunch of different chapters will make up to add some additional biblical connections to science, that we don't have to be fighting with each other. Atheists, agnostics, scientists, religionists don't have to be arguing, and different religions don't have to be arguing with each other. There's a unifying principle here: the omniverse and our instinctive drive towards harmonious, loving union with this omniversal energy, atomic energy. It's the greatest God known. It's atomically charged. It's infinite in all directions, and we are part of it, and we are guided or willed to be in harmony with it. So let's be in harmony with it. Um, Again, I'm going to be making some more videos, because my books aren't working. So, all right, I think that's enough. I'm moving into additional sections of this chapter or this book. So I'm gonna end it there, or maybe just have a couple more little uh, final thoughts and statements. But the omniverse that we're part of this this omniverse, and I'm gonna have a love chapter. I've had it in uh, some of the other videos I've made already, in the last couple of days. Just started doing this 2 or 3 days ago, and I can see I'm going to want to do a bunch more, just to kind of my attempt to put out what I've learned over time. I've been through heaven and hell. I've been an alcoholic, a drug addict, in and out of jail, fighting, fussing, squabbling, struggling, went down every avenue that you can think of. I've committed almost every sin known to man, and all in pursuit of going down dead end streets, going down the wrong paths, repeatedly over and over again. Um, I've been accused of committing additional sins that I didn't commit, but I've done my fair share. Um, but the love chapter now, after all this details about the omniverse and God, we need to learn about love and its value and how it happens, and all the details underneath it. That's going to come in maybe the next chapter. Or I'm going to have a chapter on why I believe Jesus should not be made into God, although the Apostle Paul um, has has called Jesus God, or the Apostle John uh, makes that claim. Um, the the omniverse is the biggest God you can have. Jesus is certainly part of God. Jesus got the Holy Spirit and then started. He was up to, unless you're looking at the book of Thomas, the Gospel of Thomas, which shows him performing miracles as a child. Um, there's uh, Jesus is not the omniverse. Jesus doesn't know everything. Jesus is not all powerful. Jesus is not omnipresent. Jesus is not one. Jesus is a part of God. He's getting the Holy Spirit made him miraculous, according to the Gospels. Up till he was about 30 years old, it's said. then he dies and goes on up into heaven, not reincarnated, but resurrected. So I gotta break that down, try to open that up because there are people being misled into worshiping God, Jesus as God. It's a shame because he's the greatest messenger that's ever lived, and according to the lineage of David, where they started having back Saul, I think was the first king, but and then he's in the lineage of being a king from David to Solomon and all the way down through to Mary and Joseph, supposedly being in the lineage of David. Uh, but uh, it's not healthy. It's not spiritually healthy to have a transcendent God, and Jesus is transcendent. He's and he's a fragment. He's a part of God. He's not the totality of the omniversal God, the infinite God that's all around us, always has been around us, always been all of us. It's made up of every part of us. This is who you can love with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. You cannot love Jesus with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. You can love and worship the idea of him and all his ideas. This conversation wouldn't exist without his message. I'm bringing his message into the 21st century. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm attempting to do anyway. But his message of detachment from rituals and formalities and robotic human activity into an intimate, loving relationship with God is the most amazing insight and message that could ever be given. Um, and we could, well, we're gonna have a separate chapter about uh, Islam and surrender and a Muslim and one who submits, because submitting this is submitting to God in love and seeing God everywhere and loving God in all everywhere you go, remaining loving. Uh, that is true submission. That is true Islam. And I believe that if Muhammad was anything, he was maybe in Mecca. But then when Umar and Uthman and his compatriots uh, were more barbaric than he was, um, led or chose the more barbaric uh, uh, traces of his message that were found on bark and wood um, and bone and papyrus or whatever, or oral transmissions. Um, anyway, it's a possibility that Muhammad was talking about this, although it got the what got collected out of 600,000 different pieces of material, quotes or commentary from him, and then got reduced to 100,000, and then it got reduced to the Quran. God only knows what was the original intent of Muhammad. But knowing that he has the terms uh, submission and one who submits, that's a key that there was something there, but it's been lost, like Catholicism and most branches of Christianity and Judaism. They've lost their way. They're no longer focused on the loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and seeing God in all things. So anyway, but we're going to have separate chapters about that, discuss that. Right now, it's important to know that God is the omniverse. If God is uh, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, if God is all powerful, if God is all knowing, and as God is present everywhere and the creator of all things, then God, this monotheistic God, which is one, is not broken up into fragments, although there are many parts of of this omniverse, this uncountable parts of this fragment, this, but it's one. It's not a pantheistic thing. It's not a trinity. It's not a quadrinity. It's not a fragment. It's one. We are one with the omniverse, or God. We are children of God, and we are one with God. And that oneness, you find that oneness when you're in love with with your Creator, who's keeping you alive right now. Uh, you find that oneness in love, and we're going to get into the breathing and finding the love in breathing and why the value, the additional values of breathing. Just reading a story, but never mind. Okay, so I guess that's going to be enough with this. I've already gone way over where I wanted to be. I wanted to stay under a half an hour, but I couldn't stay even under an hour. And I've got it up to an hour and 25 minutes, 26 minutes. All right, later.